All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. Want to say that I'm sorry about having some copyright issues. The last couple of days I've had to pull my videos. Before, it would let me know if I'm using a clip, something's wrong with it before. But lately, even after I release it, an hour later it says copyright ineligible for monetization, and if you keep it up you're going to get a strike, which means demonetization of your channel, even suspension. But I have no real means to know which clips are which, so my only recourse is I have to pull it immediately. Believe me, nobody's more frustrated about it than me. But I am working on a plan to have like a backup video in case this happens. I'll just pull that one and release a whole different one. That way you guys aren't just sitting there like, what happened to the video? I thought we had one here. So just thought I'd clear that up. This isn't intentional, and I know it's kind of crazy how it's all working and stupid, but this is the world we live in with YouTube and this copyright business. And one thing I found, that if I can mute some of the clips I use, especially older ones, that seems to also take care of a lot of the problems. So I may use clips that just don't have sound because I have no choice. In this video here, I'm going to show you the Finals MVPs and the Hall of Famers who gave up Finals MVPs to their counterpart, like a center giving up a Finals MVP to a center. So not only did you lose, but the guy who plays your position became the most valuable player. So obviously, that's not really a good look for you. Sure, sometimes it's not quite as black and white, but most of the time it is. Starting out in 1969, the very first Finals MVP was Jerry West. Jerry West had the Finals MVP against Boston. His counterpart was Sam Jones, a top 75 player. Now, obviously, Sam Jones doesn't care. He's like, you can have the Finals MVP because we won the championship. But that's the only one of its kind. Just 1969 is the only time that the losing team had the Finals MVP. It's unique. Now, I do agree with people saying that maybe the most valuable player could have been on the losing team a few times in the finals. Sure, that's possible. In 1970, Willis Reed, who actually didn't even play in the Game 7, but I think he came out for a minute, and that's what fired up the team, and they won the game. Broke his leg, what I remember. But Willis Reed got the Finals MVP, and Wilt Chamberlain was the opposing center. So he gave up the Finals MVP, essentially. In 71, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won the Finals MVP. Wes Unseld, a top 75 center, he gave up the Finals MVP. In 73, it was the exact same thing as 1970. Willis Reed, Finals MVP. Wilt Chamberlain gave it up. Now, to be fair, in 72, Wilt Chamberlain did win the Finals MVP, and they played the Knicks, but Willis Reed was hurt for it, so he wasn't there. So there was no Hall of Fame center that Wilt got the Finals MVP on. In 1978, Wes Unseld got the Finals MVP, which is so weird to me because CBS said at the end of that game, and I've shown this clip before, where they had Bob Dandridge as the Finals MVP, but Elvin Hayes led the team in points and rebounds. It was just so strange why they gave it to Wes Unseld. But as it sits, Wes Unseld hung the Finals MVP on Jack Sikma, a Hall of Famer. The next time, 1983, Moses Malone hung the Finals MVP on Kareem. He was the opposing center. 1984, Larry Bird got the Finals MVP, and he put that on James Worthy. Worthy was definitely the opposing team's small forward because Kurt Rambis was playing power forward and starting. Anybody who thinks, oh no, it wasn't James Worthy, he was playing power forward. No. He was the small forward. 1985 and 1987, it was Magic Johnson who put it on Dennis Johnson, both of them. Dennis Johnson was the opposing point guard, and Magic Johnson won both Finals MVPs. Now, I don't know if it's exactly fair, I don't know, but I'll say this. If Dennis Johnson could have contained and slowed down Magic, they would have had a good chance to win both those series, But Magic is just better than Dennis Johnson. There was no stopping him. 1988, James Worthy, who had a Finals MVP hung on him by Larry Bird back in 85, he hangs his own Finals MVP on Adrian Dantley. That was the opposing team's small forward, and he was a Hall of Famer. In 89, Joe Dumars won Finals MVP, and he put it on Michael Cooper, who was definitely the shooting guard because the front court was Kareem, A.C. Green, and James Worthy. So the shooting guard was definitely Michael Cooper. Byron Scott was out, so he didn't even play in the series. 1992, Michael Jordan, he put a Finals MVP on Clyde Drexler. Now, all his Finals MVPs that Michael Jordan won, there was a top 75 guard in the backcourt with the exception of Phoenix. It was Magic in 91, and he guarded Magic regardless of what anybody says. He guarded him much more than Scottie Pippen did. And Magic guarded him a little bit, but really not that much. It was Byron Scott. It was some A.C. Green. It was a committee more than anything. In 93, may not have been Hall of Famers, but Dan Marley and Kevin Johnson was definitely a high-level backcourt, especially Kevin Johnson, who I think should be in the Hall of Fame, based on who's in there now. If we had a real Hall of Fame of the very upper echelon, cream of the crop players, there'd be a whole bunch of guys that would not be in there. I mean, I would be a tough grader for sure. Players like Tony Parker, Pau Gasol would not be in the My Hall of Fame. Now, they're great players, no doubt about it. They had great careers. They would not be in my Hall of Fame. It would be reserved for the very best, the very best. And I'm just using them as an example. But there's plenty of players that would not be in my Hall of Fame. But based on who is in the Hall of Fame right now, I think players like Mark Price, Kevin Johnson should be in the Hall of Fame. That's all. And then, of course, Jordan played the backcourt of Gary Payton and Hersey Hawkins, another very high-level backcourt. Payton, the top 75 player. And then Utah in 97-98, Stockton and Hornacek. I mean, they were running through some great guards to get to the finals in both years. And that's another very high-level backcourt. But as far as an actual shooting guard goes, Hall of Famer, no, in the finals, Jordan only hung a Finals MVP on Clyde Drexler. Hakeem Olajuwon in 1994 hung a Finals MVP on Patrick Ewing. Ewing had one of his worst series of his career. In 95, he hung one on Shaq. Swept Shaq. That's impressive to go back-to-back against a top 75 player, probably a top 50 all-time player, both guys. I would say definitely they're both top 50. But Shaq got his revenge in 01 when he put Finals MVP on Dikembe Mutombo. And then didn't really happen again until 2010. Like 02, Shaq won it, but he was going up against Todd McAuliffe. 03, the Finals MVP was Duncan, but again, it was Jason Collins, Todd McAuliffe, whatever. 04, it was Chauncey Billups, but that would have been Derek Fisher for the Lakers. 05, it was Duncan again, and since he's a power forward and they had that Rasha Nesterovic guy, I didn't put Ben Wallace on there because technically it wasn't a center on center. He would have put it on Rasheed Wallace, who's not in the Hall of Fame. Then it was like 06, Dwayne Wade. There was no Hall of Famer in Dallas's backcourt. 07, it was San Antonio with Tony Parker winning it. There was no Hall of Famer in Cleveland's backcourt. 08, Boston, it was Paul Pierce. There was no small forward Hall of Famer for the Lakers. And then in 09, Kobe won it, but there was no Hall of Fame guard for Orlando. And that gets us to 2010, where Kobe put a Finals MVP on Ray Allen, who was the opposing team's shooting guard. 2011, Dirk Nowitzki won the Finals MVP. He put it on Chris Bosh, the opposing team's power forward. Then LeBron James actually won two of them, 2012 versus OKC, which would have been Kevin Durant. And then 2013, even though at the time he was a true baby, he did put a Finals MVP on Kawhi Leonard on the back of the Miracle, Ray Allen 3, whatever. But he got the Finals MVP with Kawhi Leonard guarding him. But in 2014, it was Kawhi Leonard who got the Finals MVP and put it right back on LeBron.
Olympic.
And then in 2018, yes, I think Cleveland was definitely outmatched. They were outgunned. But they were so outmatched and outgunned that everybody talks about Michael Jordan against the 86 and 87 Celtics. The Bulls were more competitive in the 86 and 87 first round. A team with a losing record against one of the greatest teams ever, the 86 Celtics and the 87 Celtics. They went the entire season of 86, went 50-1. And then they went through the regular season the next year and lost 2 games. That means that Boston in 92 home games were 89-3. That's how unbeatable that team was. That's who the Bulls played in the first round in 86 and first round in 87. So the Bulls had to play games 1 and 2 in Boston, and this team had won 89 of 92 home games with a team that's under 500. And still, they were more competitive than LeBron James in the 2018 finals, a team, like I said, who was just facing elimination by Houston in the Western Conference Finals. And yes, LeBron gave up that Finals MVP too.
His transition defense had been letting them down.
Bell. Shot clock at 6. Durant, little crossover, pull-up, jumper's good. Durant to handle the crossover, the pull-up, shot's good.
They better get their defense going.
Durant spins, jump shot is good. Kevin Durant now.
So there's a lot of one-offs of players who gave up a single Finals MVP to their counterpart. The other team's small forward, center, whatever position you play, whatever. But the most ever Dennis Johnson gave up to Magic Johnson, okay, my number 3 of all time. Wilt Chamberlain gave up to Willis Reed. One of those, though, I don't know, 1970, Willis Reed didn't even play Game 7. That was obviously more of an emotional kind of thing. But he did get beat, plain and simple. Wilt was older, though. This was not prime Wilt anymore. And then LeBron James gave up 4 of them. In fact, he gave up 5 to forwards, if you throw Dirk Nowitzki in there. I know LeBron didn't guard Dirk necessarily, or Dirk guard LeBron, but I'm just saying, half the finals he played in, he gave up the Finals MVP to another forward. That's just a fact. 9 out of the 10 finals that LeBron played in, a forward won the Finals MVP. So obviously that's where all the action was. The other one was Tony Parker, a guy who people say, oh, he was shutting down Parker. The guy won Finals MVP. How much shutting down could he have done? But anyway, here's another thing that LeBron leads in right here. Giving up Finals MVPs to his counterpart mirrored position. There you go, LeBron. Don't say I never did you a favor. Anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, please hit the like button. If you wouldn't mind sharing it, that would be great. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. I give daily content. And that's it. Until next time.